Recently, I've seen this statement, which many people use to try to claim that Ichigo has been faster than light even before the Soul Society arc, and it's pretty laughable because it's heavily contradicted by the manga. Now, arguments for Zero and such other attacks being light speed were made many times based on the that books calling them light. However, something being called a light does not automatically make it light speed. For example, light can simply mean something that emits light, something that is shining. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's made of photons. And we can very clearly tell that these attacks are not made of photons, they don't work like an attack made of photons to begin with. So there's that. And now this new argument is blah 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 blah. This author said that Zero is light speed and that Kubo also said it's light speed, blah 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 blah. First of all, this looks extremely fake. I would need a screencast in order to, see that this is real because it looks so fake. It just looks like something that an average brain rot power scaler will say. Now, aside from that, even if this is true, this would just be that of the author, which is when the author says something that is directly contradicted by the story. Because we know that Zero cannot be light speed. Because we have examples like Gin saying that his Bankai is only 500 times the speed of sound. He literally claps his hands and says, "Do you hear that? The speed of my Bankai is 500 times that," referring to the sound. And then he says that this would make it the fastest Bankai, the fastest Zanpakuto, which means that 500 times Mach is faster than any other Zanpakuto at the time. And obviously a lot of people say, oh, he lied to Ichigo, but that doesn't matter. The fact of the matter stands that he's presenting 500 Mach as something that's impressive, and Ichigo is even shitting his pants when he hears 500 times Mach. In fact, Gin even implies that his Bankai is actually slower than 500 Mach because he says it's not as fast as I said. The implication is obviously that it's slower. And if you think that's inconsistent, another Bleach novel directly says that Candis's normal lightning attacks are actually slower than a natural lightning, and it also says that Ginju was barely able to sidestep it. Like, even though it's from a long distance, Ginju was barely able to even sidestep it. So these characters aren't even lightning speed. Like, Ginju was literally able to fight Ichigo post the Aizen arc. He completely destroyed the Ishida post Aizen arc, who should be captain level in speed. So even the Bleach novels agree that even someone like Candis, who is pretty much a high tier in the verse, like she's literally captain level, her attacks are slower than a natural lightning. Of course, it does say that she has a single attack that's faster than a normal lightning, but that's irrelevant because that's an exception, that's not her average attack power and attack speed. So yeah, the show makes it very clear that these characters aren't light speed. If Zero was light speed, Ichigo would have to be light speed or faster than light even during the substitute Shinigami arc, which we know isn't true. So yeah, what the manga and the novels directly say within their story has way more value than what Kubo may or may not have said on some off night where he was talking to some random movie novel writer. And this is another thing. The source isn't as reliable as some Bleach fans want to claim. This isn't somebody that worked on the Bleach anime. This isn't somebody that worked on the Bleach manga. This is just somebody that has written a few Bleach movie novels, which are novels based on the movies. And those aren't even canon because the movies are what's canon. The novels that depict the movies are never mentioned to be canon. So yeah, get this garbage argument out of here. Now, there are two other arguments that I've seen people use for Lightspeed Bleach, which are also very laughable. The first one is Yuryu moving so fast that he left a shadow, and this is completely irrelevant for two reasons. The first issue is that we are told that anything that enters the Soul Society must be made of ratio. Ratio being a spiritual particle with different properties from normal stuff that we see in the living world. This means that the light in the soul set is also made of that spiritual particle, which isn't a photon. And for you to claim that it's light speed would require proof that the spiritual particle is the same as a photon. You can just claim that without evidence, considering the fact that we are literally told that they are made of two different particles. There is also the fact that ratio is shown to have mass, considering the fact that things made of ratio have weight. This includes compacus and the buildings in the solar society. And light is light speed specifically because photons are particles without mass. And if it had mass, it wouldn't be light speed. It's that simple. And the fact that ratio or spiritual particles have mass already suggests that it's likely not light speed. So the burden of proof once again lies on the side that claims that Bleach is faster than light, because we have many reasons to believe that the light in the Soul Society is slower than natural light. Also, the fact that Ginju, who is stronger than a much stronger version of Yuryu, could barely sidestep a lightning from a high distance, and not even a lightning, an attack that's slower than lightning, already tells us that for Yuryu to leave a shadow behind would mean that the light in the society is actually much slower than light made of photons. The other argument is that Espada number 9 dodged light as well, however the issue is the same because everything in Hundu is also said to be made of reishi, or spiritual particles. Also, he never really dodged the light, he simply moved out of the way before the rubble fell down completely because there was still some rubble that was covering the hole and didn't fully fell down from it. There is also the fact that Ichigo, Ruki, and Sado were getting blitzed by sound waves. They were literally losing to an enemy that was using sound waves as an attack. So you basically have to claim that in the span of like 30 chapters, they got hundreds of thousands of times faster, which is never stated anywhere. Like you'd have to claim that Rukia, with the body she never trains in, like this was literally a body she uses to mix in with society, not for fighting, would get hundreds of thousands of times faster in the span of 30 chapters, which without that ever being mentioned, without that ever being shown, for Zero being light speed to make sense. Because she was able to perceive Zero, she was able to react to it, yet she wasn't able to react to sound waves very shortly before that. Ichigo struggled with sound waves very shortly before that. So yeah, Bleach is an extremely slow verse. Any argument for light speed or faster light Bleach literally comes from some attacks being called light, which as we've established literally means nothing. Like attacks in fiction that shine are always called light even if they are clearly not made of photons. Any light speed argument is based purely on interpretation. The story directly debunks the characters being light speed, like 500 Mach making Ichigo shit his pants, and don't tell me that Ichigo doesn't know what 500 times the speed of sound is. He's literally established to be a well-educated person and to be pretty much near the top of his class in terms of every single subject. We have Candis's normal attacks being slower than unnatural lightning, which Ginjo was barely able to sidestep regardless of the fact that it was a very far distance from him. What's taught in the story has way more value than what some fans interpret the story to be, or even what Kubo interprets the story to be, considering the fact that he wrote the manga and he wrote the characters considering Mach 500 to be the fastest Bankai. Like, because Gin literally says that this Bankai is 500 times the speed of sound, is the fastest Zanpakuto. And despite 500 times the speed of sound being a lie, it's still Gin playing into that lie and saying that if it was 500 times the speed of sound, it would be the fastest Zanpakuto, which means that 500 times the speed of sound actually scales above every single Zanpakuto we've seen so far, including Byakuya's Bankai, Ichigo's Bankai, and even Aizen's Bankai, which makes perfect sense considering the fact that most lightnings travel speeds between 200 Mach and 1000 times Mach. And Ginjo was barely able to sidestep that, the same Ginjo who literally has speed scaling to captain level characters. And there is also the data book saying that Byakuya and Bankai Ichigo had lightning-like speed. Even if you want to claim that it's a hyperbole is actually an exaggeration. That's what hyperboles are. They are exaggerations by definition. So if lightning speed is an exaggeration, then they would definitely be even slower than lightning. Which is kind of actually backed up in the Bleach novel because it says that even if something is slower than a natural lightning, it can still somewhat pass as lightning speed, even though it's not quite there. But anyway, that's it for this video. Faster than light Bleach is a complete joke. Like, maybe you can argue that the 1000 tier Blood War characters, the top tiers, may reach that level of speed, but anything below that isn't even like relativistic. You would have to be denying the actual story itself for you to claim that these characters are even superlativistic. Like, Bleach is literally probably the slowest shonen out there, which is obviously not something that the Bleach fanboys would like, considering the fact that Bleach is praised as some sort of a powerhouse of a verse, like some sort of a next level power scaling shonen anime, when in reality it's actually like very mediocre. Now, if you've liked this video, please leave a like because it actually does help a lot. And also make sure to subscribe to my channel for more awesome content. And you can leave a comment down below and tell me what topic you want me to discuss next because sometimes I do see a very good idea and I decide to do that.